with Jake Tapper. Monday starting at 4 Eastern on CNN.
A funeral service begins soon for the boy who died after his dad left him in a hot car for 7 hours. Cooper Harris was nearly 2 years old, just 22 months old, and he was left strapped in a car seat by his father in brutally hot weather while the father went to work. His dad, Justin Ross Harris, has pleaded not guilty to charges of murder and second-degree child cruelty in his death. But just a short time ago, CNN obtained search warrants. And in it, it reveals that Harris researched through the internet child deaths inside vehicles and what temperature it needs to be for that to occur. Authorities also seized a number of items from the home of this suspect, including an iPhone 5 and a laptop. All right, it is such a heartbreaking story, and the legal issues are just getting more complicated as this investigation intensifies. Joining me right now is Ivory. She's an attorney and radio personality. All right, so Mo, we learn about the search warrant and that apparently he did an internet search about just as I described it, you know, the temperatures, how long does it take and all that. But what we don't know is the sequence of that search, whether that happened prior to the death of the child or afterwards. Well,
every time
I think this kind of search kind of justified in the world of, you know, attorneys, prosecutors, and defense?
Well, sure. I think what we know right away was that the police felt there was something wrong immediately at the scene because they immediately arrested him. So I know there was, you know, inconsistent statements being said, and there was the idea that something is not right here. So right off the bat, that arrest and the quick charges told us something was not right. Right. So I think right after that, the search warrants went into effect and they found all this out. I think every day we're learning more and more about this man's state of mind, what he was doing, but the fact that he was even, whether it was before, I doubt it was after, but before the death, searching for these, who does that? Who searches for, and if his state of mind was, well, I'm worried about if this could ever happen to my child, but no parents
every parent knows you're just not going to do it, not for 30 seconds,
you're not going to search details. Well, how long does it take? What does the temperature need to be? There was even the search about an animal.
A prosecutor will use that as it speaks to intent.
Premeditation.
We're talking about a felony murder charge.
Absolutely.
But a felony murder charge does not necessarily mean first-degree murder where it means it was premeditated.
Sure.
What does a felony murder charge mean?
Well, that there was a felony that caused the underlying,
that
you know,
event. To intent?
Yeah. Well, no, not really. It doesn't speak to the intent. But what is even more confusing about this case is the lessening of the charge of first-degree cruelty to a child.
Right,
from second degree to first degree.
Right.
I mean, first degree to second degree, because that would say that there was no malicious intent.
Right.
If you go to second degree, which just means that
there was... Which is very confusing, because last week we were talking about the quick charges, which really did speak to the suspicion by authorities that this may have been premeditated or planned. And now, a few days later, it's dropped back, you know, down a couple notches, but at the same time, the search warrant
reveals, explains a premeditation, malicious intent. I mean, all of these things that go straight to, I'm about to murder my child.
So does this make this more complicated? Because I feel like I'm more confused now when I look at the legal road as it pertains to this case.
Sure, I'm trying to I'm trying to figure out the legal road myself, and I think everybody's trying to do that. It doesn't help that the mother's making no statements. The family is being absolutely guarded. It's as if we're dealing with two different people. We're dealing with a man that seemingly was a model father to his family and to his community, but then a man who was obviously doing some things behind closed doors that we don't know about.
Yeah, and wouldn't it seem there'd be an examination or some kind of probe about his behavior, his demeanor, his interaction with this child over a period of time?
Sure, his psychological...
If there was intent here, if this was premeditated, this isn't like a moment that just comes out of nowhere. It would seem that there's behavior prior to that would say, I don't like, being a dad, or I don't like, the burden of, or something.
Well, I think that we're starting to see some behavior prior to the searches. I think that I'm sure they're doing interviews. The police are being so quiet about what they have. And I think that we're only being given pieces at a time that are helping us put this timeline together. But next week, Thursday, when he goes to his hearing, I think we will find out so much more, and we will learn exactly what is going on. But, and either way, like we were talking, two moms, this is an absolutely devastating story.
Yeah,
it's devastating. The child's being buried today, and it's just nothing that any mother or father can imagine doing to their child or hearing that somebody else would do to their child.
I think so many parents are expressing it. It hurts as if it's happening to them, because you just simply can empathize with the experience of being a parent once you are one, and you can't understand how in the world something like this
and
could
the
happen.
Martin Savage timeline was brilliant.
It was
the
brilliant.
5-minute. How do you forget about your child from feeding them breakfast?
And there's a sign that says daycare as you enter the workplace.
Frederica, I just can't get it.
I know. There's another case that we're going to talk about, because this too had caused